Quasi here, and in this video, I'm going to share with you how you can transcend your thoughts to the point where every single thought you organically place gains a power of the absolute next level, to the point where it manifests as reality. And really, this was something super powerful for me to learn and experiment with. And what I've seen was that once you get to this state of mind, any single thought you place becomes extremely powerful. I really want you to stick around to the very end of this video because I'm going to be sharing with you 3 keys to help you do this in your life. Before I begin this video, I want to quickly announce that a few spots for the Reality Mastery program and the free one-to-one consult with me to see if you'd be a good fit for the program is now open. So make sure you wait around till the end of the video for the announcement on that. And with that, let's get started with this video. So today we want to talk about transcending thought. And why this is important is because what's happening right now is most people, they have a lot of thoughts. Okay, we just keep getting bombarded with thoughts. And we don't know where these thoughts actually stem from. But neither is it important where these thoughts stem from, because thoughts are just thoughts. When you start to put too much importance on these thoughts, you start to ride with the thoughts. This is what happens. You just start riding up and down with the thoughts. When you have a good thought, you feel good. When you have a bad thought, you feel bad. So these thoughts start to dictate your life. But even more than that, if you look at it, the thought is the internal world. So if you keep your internal world in a certain way, your external world's going to follow. If your thoughts moving up and down, your actions are naturally going to follow. I'm going to give you an example of that. Sometimes when you fall unconscious, it's like you make the decision, okay, I'm not going to check my phone anymore. But then you fall unconscious a little bit and you have the thought about checking something. But then you just find yourself reaching for your phone anyways, right? So in this manner, your thought is actually influencing your actions. But who knows how many other ways your thoughts are actually influencing your actions day by day. But even more than that, your reality, right? So getting your thoughts under control is the single most powerful thing that I've learned throughout this whole journey, which has helped me come to the level I've come to today. So I really want to share this with you. Okay, so most minds are clouded with distractions. And by distractions, I mean thoughts that aren't serving you. The nature of thought is like this. There is an incoming thought and an outgoing thought. When you start to identify with the incoming thought, you make it an outgoing one. It starts to influence you. Okay, so this identification with the thought is the biggest problem. So think about it this way. Because of our conditioning, as you start to move forward in one direction of your life, it becomes harder and harder. If you want to go from a 9-to-5 to entrepreneurship, you're going to get all of these thoughts of the past, like, oh, I'm not worthy. Oh, what gives me the right to do this? Oh, XYZ, XYZ, XYZ. When I first started my YouTube channel, I had all of these doubts in my mind, like, oh man, there's people like, XYZ, this guy has like 700,000 subscribers. Why would people listen to me? And then other people who've already had successful YouTube channels, and it makes you think that, okay, well, why would someone listen to me? All of these limitations, they have no basis. You know they have no basis, but for some reason they keep haunting you every single day because you're unconsciously identified with these thoughts and they start to influence you. These thoughts have crafted this current identity which has become very, very strong. Okay, so to the point where you start to tell these stories to yourself and you actually believe them. They've become reality. If you keep turning around these thoughts more and more, you start identifying with them, they become a part of you and they become immensely real. It becomes a real experience within you. The mind can't discern between what's, imagined and what's real. This is why visualization works, right? So most minds are clouded with all of these distractions, all of these thoughts. And by distractions, I mean things that aren't serving the goal you want to achieve. There is a part of you, your heart, that wants to achieve a certain goal, but then your mind, which has been conditioned in a certain way, that doesn't serve the goal you want to achieve. Okay? So that's the biggest problem. Unless and until we can eliminate these distractions, they're always going to be there and they're always going to, occupy a certain space within this sphere of mind. Right? So what you got to know is that if you can make your mind empty, any thought you put in there becomes extremely powerful. Because imagine it like this. Imagine you had no distractions at all, no destructive thoughts, no destructive patterns, and you only had one thing to focus on. How powerful would that be? This is why thoughts in an empty mind become extremely powerful. It's kind of like you have these two circles, but then in this one circle, you're moving a million different directions. You're moving a million different inches in a million different directions, right? But then you have this other circle where all of these million different distractions are gone, and the only thing left there is the thought of the goal. So you move a million inches in the direction of the goal. This is why it becomes extremely powerful. If you can learn to cultivate your mind where you just focus on one thing, it's going to start to reflect in your actions. It's going to start reflecting the opportunities presented to you. Your reticular activating system is going to start focusing on the goal rather than the distractions, right? So the goal is to even just get 51% thoughts of the goal and 49% distraction. If this balance happens, you're moving forward. You're moving towards your goal. But we don't want that. We want better than that. We want to get to 70-30, if anything. And we want to get to 80-20, if anything, right? If you can get it to 100%, you have an empty mind, you just move towards the goal, nothing like it. It'll become very, very quick. It'll become extremely quick. The very reason I was able to go from 0 to 100K months in my business, click up here to check that out, was because all of these distractions, I saw them as distractions. I stopped identifying with them. I let them go. I completely eliminated them. Those were part of the current identity, things that weren't serving me. And I started to focus on what did serve me, and I got clarity around that first. First of all, it's getting clear and awareness around what it is you do want, what activities are going to serve that. Right? Because if you don't know what it is you want, how are you supposed to get there? This is what most people try to do. They think they know what they want. I think I want financial freedom, so they try a million different things. But ask yourself this: what's the point of financial freedom if it's going to be just as stressful, if not more stressful, than your full-time job? Better to stay at your full-time job, right? So that's what I mean. And so you want to get to a point where you increase the balance of constructive thoughts and decrease the percentage of destructive thoughts. And the solution to doing that is emptying your mind. And I'm going to share with you a drill that helps you do that. Okay? So here's what it is. The drill is what we call self-inquiry. Okay? This is from a great book by Ramana Maharshi, who is an ancient sage, sure back in the 1800s, not too sure. But he talked about self-inquiry as a process of erasing these thoughts and starting to see the mind and the self as separate. What happens is if you start to really disidentify with the thoughts, you naturally disidentify with the mind. Right now, it's kind of like this. You have the self, and within the self, there is another superimposed thing called the mind. Okay? Now, the distinction between the two isn't clear. So you start to ride with the ups and downs. You start to identify with it. The self is more closely known as the observer, the one that observes the mind and observes the thoughts. Really look at it this way. If you stop right now and look into your mind, you'll see that there are thoughts. There are thoughts of you watching this video. There are thoughts of you applying the stuff that you're learning in this video and paying attention to it. Who is it that even observes this? Who is it even that thinks this? Right? Once that happens, all of these thought jumbles that come in, they no longer affect you. You start to zap them away. So when you zap these things away and no thoughts remain, then there appears a separation between the mind and the self. So then this is what happens. You start to see that you have a mind and that you are not it. When this separation happens, dude, you've reached liberation. You've reached a different level of freedom. This is one of the highest levels of freedom you can get to. Understanding the separation between the mind and the self and the body and the self. You're not the mind, you're not the body. Once that realization occurs, you can consciously tell yourself this, but unless and until that realization occurs, it's not going to happen. So the question becomes, how do we make this realization occur? Well, here's how. First of all, you have to learn to observe your thoughts. If you can't observe your thoughts, nothing's going to happen. So if you sit right there right now and ask yourself, okay, what thoughts are there? And then you watch every single thought. Start to list out every single thought there is. What am I thinking about right now? Well, I'm thinking about making this video. I'm thinking about whether or not people are going to watch this video. I'm thinking about if this video is going to be a good one, right? So what are all of these thoughts that are coming into your mind right now? But even more than that, once you've identified these thoughts, here's the key thing that's going to help you zap them so that there's no residue. The thing is, when you have all of these thoughts and you start to notice them, they leave a little residue. And then they come back when you're unconscious to haunt you. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, how'd I have that thought? Where'd that thought come from? Because it's leaving a little residue that leaves itself behind. So ask yourself this question. Who is it that thinks this? To whom does this thought occur? To whom does this occur? So what we're doing is we're separating the who from the one that thinks, the whom from the thought. Right? To whom does this thought occur? When this separation, again, when this happens, the thoughts start to subside. What you do when you ask this question is you zap this thought at the source. I've made another video about this. Click up here to check that out. But once you zap these thoughts at the source, what happens is they no longer leave the residue. The mind becomes increasingly, the word is quiescent, as Ramana Maharshi describes it. You become more and more still. You can do breathing exercises to do this. If you control your breath, the breath is a grosser manifestation of your thoughts. If you learn to slow down your breath, if you get your respiratory rate down to less than 5 breaths per second, your mind starts to become very, very still. But the problem is, once the breath starts again, the mind starts racing again. If you have a very, very still mind, any thought you put in there is going to be extremely powerful. Okay? So now when you start to really visualize at this state, your visualizations become immensely powerful. You don't get that cloudiness in your visions. You start to become clearer and clearer in what it is you want. And now, there isn't something else that pops into your visions, but rather you can organically visualize it. And even as a result, you powerfully move forward towards that. Right? So the final thing, and this is an extra step, you don't need to do this. You just need to ask to whom this is occur, eliminate those. But if you want to actually get to a higher level of realization, right, to the point where you no longer even hold on to the goals don't even matter, you ask, who am I? When you ask, to whom does this thought occur? The natural answer is, to me. And then you ask, who am I? You get into full realization of it. That helps you get a glimpse into the true nature of the self. You can't really define it. Right? This is a realization that has to occur. This is why they call them realized beings, and they can't communicate this message. This is an experiential reality. Unless and until you've experienced it yourself, you can't really say or talk about it. Right? Even if you have experienced it yourself, this is a thing that's personal to you, that you can only show and help other people get to. But they have to get to the realization on themselves. You can't get it for them. Okay? So really, just to recap the gist of this video, what we talked about was why people are moving 2 steps forward, 1 step back. You have this imbalance of destructive thoughts that aren't serving you and the constructive thought, the thought of the goal you have. Most people, by the way, they have 20% constructive thoughts, 80% destructive thoughts, 80% fear and avoidance, 20% desire. If you flip that, then you move forward towards the goal very, very quick. Okay? So cultivating this balance is important. But the question becomes, how do we cultivate this balance? How do we empty our minds? Like if you eliminate distractions, the only thing that's left is focus. If you eliminate the compulsions, the only thing that's left is consciousness. That's all you got to do. You just eliminate. The more you eliminate, the more you get rid of these thoughts, naturally the space will be there for the thought that you would like. And you can consciously place that in there. Right? So how do you do that? This 3-step drill. Self-inquiry. First of all, you got to learn to observe your thoughts. Take a step back from them, learn to observe. If every single day for the next month you just sit down in a 20-minute, 15-minute meditation, just watch your thoughts without moving with them, you just step back from them. Every time you start to move with them and they become strong, you just remind yourself to take a step back and gently step back and start to watch them. Right? This is a great practice to do. But even more than that, you go to the next step and ask, to whom does this thought occur? The whom and the thought start to appear separate, and then the separation occurs between the self and the mind. There is no such thing as the mind if there is no thought in there. The mind just disappears. Right? So once you do this, you get a glimpse into the true nature of the self. And then any thought you put in there becomes supercharged and it becomes very, very powerful. The last step to an advanced level of detachment is asking, who am I? Once you get to that stage of, okay, who is it that thinks this? To whom does this thought occur? Then you ask, well, who am I? Because naturally the answer is, this thought occurs to me, but then who am I? You have to get into the realization of this. It's one thing to consciously, intellectually know this, another thing to experientially have this as a reality. Okay? With that, I conclude this video. Thank you so much for watching. I sincerely hope this was helpful. If you're new to the channel, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, hit that little bell there so you're notified of any new video that I put out. And also, I'm super excited to announce the free one-to-one consult with me for the Reality Mastery Program is now open. If you're interested in signing up, click on the link in the description below. Just wanted to let you know that for those of you who are serious about taking your life to the absolute next level and serious about working together in the program with me to do that, this is for you. Please don't sign up if you're just looking to have a quick chat and a conversation with me. Take advantage of the Facebook group if you want to do that. But also, if you're a professional looking to transition out, take your life and your career to the next level, this is for you. If you're an entrepreneur stuck at a revenue level and you've been hitting this invisible barrier and you've tried all the strategies, nothing's worked, then this is for you as well. So make sure you click on the link in the description below to take advantage of this opportunity while the few spots are available, and hope I see you there. Thanks for watching. Till next time. Peace.